All right, Larry Krueger here at Levi's after practice, and we're getting ready to talk to Nick Bosa, Brock Purdy, Chris Forster, Steve Wilkes. But let's do a little recap of all the news around the 49ers after practice today. Now, of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in both spots from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Well, Nick Bosa returned to the field today. The highest paid defensive player in the history of the NFL was back on the field today. The Niners have a 2-game roster exemption where they can choose to activate him or not, but they will be activating him on Sunday, and they will have to make a corresponding move to activate him. He didn't do team drills today, or at least that we saw. He did some running on the side. Then he did some D-line drills away from the group, just kind of shaking off the rust after a 44-day holdout. But shaking off the rust and getting ready for Pittsburgh, and he'll be on the field Sunday. He signed a 5-year, $170 million deal, $34 million guaranteed, $34 million per year, I should say, $122.5 million in guarantees, including a $50 million signing bonus. So I'll say this, Bosa looked like to be in great shape. He was running around in great spirits, and we'll get a chance to talk to him here in a few minutes. A couple other things. The 49ers have named their captains for the upcoming year. There are 6 of them. It's Deebo Samuel, Brock Purdy, Eric Armstead, Fred Warner, George Kittle, and Trent Williams. So those are the captains this year. No Brandon Ayuk. And I'm eager to ask Brock Purdy, how he feels about being voted a captain by his teammates. That's obviously a pretty nice little honor given to Purdy, who was obviously not a captain a year ago. The 49ers also renegotiated the deals for Trent Williams and George Kittle and created roughly $24 million in salary cap room, which is the second most in the NFL. Only the Browns have more at $38 million. So, the people who want to scream it to the high heavens, Jed York is cheap, Jed York is cheap. Well, Jed York is not cheap because yesterday he spent nearly $80 million on 3 signing bonuses that helps create cap room for the 49ers in 2023. And that's also cap room that they can roll over into 2024 if they so choose. One interesting media report today that I found interesting. DeAndre Hopkins told GQ magazine that he actually reached out to the 49ers this offseason. He had interest in becoming a 49er. In addition to the Niners, he also reached out to the New York Giants, the Detroit Lions, and the Dallas Cowboys, but the Niners never called back. Obviously, they were satisfied with the receivers they had, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, Danny Gray, Ray McLeod, and didn't feel like they could afford DeAndre Hopkins. And, of course, Hopkins eventually signed a contract with the Tennessee Titans. Also, today at practice, the one interesting note, Talanoa Hufanga, who was limited in practice on Wednesday, did not practice today. Now, he's got a Baker's cyst behind one of his knees, and I don't know to what degree that's bothering him. I don't know if sitting out today was a precautionary deal. I'm not sure about his status for Sunday, but he was not practicing today. Now, guys that were in uniform today included Oren Burks, who's battling back from a knee injury. Tayshaun Gibson was back at practice. He's been limited yesterday. He was limited on Wednesday due to back pain. He was a full participant today. George Kittle with the adductor, groin pull, Jordan Mason with a foot injury, Ray McLeod with the wrist injury, and Jake Moody with the quad were all in uniform and practicing today. Also returning to practice today after sitting out yesterday was John Feliciano. The backup offensive lineman was reportedly ill yesterday. Also, Trent Williams was back at practice today. He got a rest day yesterday. He's one of the most veteran players on the team. So the big story down here in Santa Clara is obviously the return of Nick Bosa, and Bosa looks to be in great shape. According to his mother, she went on the radio yesterday with Mark Willard and Dan Dibley on 95.7 The Game and said that Nick is stronger and faster than he was a year ago. So I'm eager to ask him how he spent his offseason, how he somehow found a way to get stronger and faster and richer here in the off season, and what exactly he did in Florida to try to keep, mock training camp. Basically what did he do on his own to try to give himself the reps that he would normally get here in Santa Clara with his teammates. And if anybody could kind of work through training camp on their own without needing camp and needing the hitting, it probably is Nick Bosa. His brother's an all-pro defensive lineman. His father was a defensive lineman. He's meticulous about his diet. He's meticulous about his workouts, his preparation. He's not the guy that shows up to camp out of shape and then spends the first 2-3 weeks getting into shape. This guy's walking around in shape all year long. But I'm eager to hear what he has to say about what exactly he did in the offseason to keep himself in fantastic shape, especially during this 44-day holdout. So that's really the long and the short of it today down here in Santa Clara. The Niners were back on the field. They will practice today. They will fly tomorrow after practice to Pittsburgh. And then Sunday, week 1, Niners-Steelers from Heinz Field. And it should be probably the biggest ice bag game of the year. It's pretty rare that you start your season with what is probably the most physical game on your schedule all year. But that's what the doctor ordered this year. The Niners are physical. Every team that they played last year in the regular season lost the following week. The Steelers, I watched all 3 of their preseason games. They're as physical as any team in football. So this is going to be an ice bag game. I asked Ray McCott about it yesterday, the former Steeler, who was really excited to be making a homecoming back there in Pittsburgh. And he said he's going to have fans in the stands and a lot of friendly faces, but he's like, man, this is going to be an ice bag game. So the Niners are anticipating a physical war. I would imagine the Steelers are as well. The Steelers have a phenomenal record in week 1 at home under Mike Tomlin, where the 49ers have really started slowly in recent years at the beginning of the year. So the Niners want to get off to a fast start. They're all about getting home field advantage in the NFC. It may be a 2 or 3 team conference. The Niners, the Eagles, maybe Detroit, maybe the Giants, maybe Dallas. Maybe there's an unforeseen contender in there, but it looks very much like the Niners and the Eagles are the premier teams at the top of the NFC ledger. And battle for home field is going to have a huge impact on who goes to the Super Bowl. 49ers feel like if they had that game at home last year, it would have been a different outcome. Instead, it was in Philly. Philly wound up winning the game. So the Niners want to start fast. Last year, there was a couple broken plays. They brought energy, but maybe not a lot of focus in that Bears rain fest there at Soldier Field. They want to bring that energy, but they want to bring a tighter focus and a little bit more attention to detail in this one. Steelers are a physical football team, and this is going to be a battle royale Sunday morning, 10 a.m. kickoff here on the West Coast, 1 o'clock on the East Coast. Big story today, obviously, Nick Bosa returns to practice. We'll talk to him here in a few minutes. And the other big story is Talanoa Hufanga, with the Baker cyst on the knee, did not practice today. How serious is that going into the weekend? That, at this point, we don't know. All right, thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show, and thanks to all you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.